Good morning, gardening friends. Today is Sunday, September 7th. It is an overcast day today. I hope we do get a little rain. We got a little rain last night because it's been dry the last few days. Oh, it has been an absolutely terrible week here, but life goes on. I'll be sharing the info with you as we go. I'm not going to hit you with it all at once, as I was hit. But the week started out with my usual man that gardens or helps me garden and does my lawns. Well, he was hospitalized last week and had an operation for an abdominal hernia. And while in the hospital, they found some heart issues, which he knew he had. And then he caught pneumonia and was in ICU. And I'm probably getting the sequence wrong, but bottom line is he now has had double bypass surgery. So my thoughts and prayers are still with Kevin. He's still recovering. And on top of that, my oldest friend, I've known him since kindergarten for 65 years, passed away. Just need a second. But you can see my orchid is doing well. Going through the garden will always cheer me up. My apicia is in bloom again. Flowers look like that. I have cut that down quite a few times. It's time to move this begonia, flip it around so that the leaves face the inside again. But everything in here looks pretty much the same. It needs a good water. The caladiums will tell you when they need water because they do that. They flop. When it gets hot, and it was hot this week, this front porch heats up and it's very sunny. And so the water evaporates very quickly here. But yes, everything in here is looking fine. Nothing fixing to bloom. But because of the issues, by the way, my friend's name was Steve. I did a little retail therapy this week to cheer myself up and get on with my life. One thing I bought was a new hassock for this room. And I invested, because life is too short, in a couple of signed photographs. One of Bette Davis and one of Bob Hope. And had them matted and framed at Hobby Lobby. They're underneath the chains of my cuckoo clock. I apologize for that, but that was the only wall space I had available. And I had to laugh. Of course, that didn't help any. The girl at the antique shop where I got Bob Hope from, well, I got them both from the same shop. Both are dedicated to Prue Fletcher. Don't know who Prue Fletcher is, Prue, but I got both of the photographs from her collection. But in any event, back to Bob Hope. I bought the Bob Hope picture. It was originally in a little black frame. It was not matted. And I had to laugh because when I went to check it out, the girl behind the counter, who looked about 12, nose ring and all, nothing wrong with nose rings, but said, "You're paying this much money for just a frame?" She never heard of Bob Hope. And that's okay. So I said, "Well, you're right. Do you think you can get me a discount on that frame?" And unfortunately, she called a person over that was more my age, and she just smiled. She said, "No, that's Bob Hope. You don't know who that is?" It was worth a try. So sometimes you can play the old card and get away with it. I also bought myself a new orchid. The old orchid is still holding on to blossoms. That's I want to say going into its second month already. Of course, all the other, I cut these off. This had 5 stems. When they turn brown like this, there's no need to keep them, so you can cut them off. However, if they lose their flowers and remain green, leave the stalks on because they may bloom again on that stalk. That was the reason why I bought this particular orchid, because you can see, well, I can't point and show you at the same time, but underneath here is another flower stem fixing to come out and another one down here. So there's a potential, if that likes it here, that it will send out 2 more flower stems. Just a little tidbit, if you ever go to buy an orchid, you may want to look at the ones that are out there and choose one that might bloom again in future. I did go ahead and plant up my pothos, so it's looking as good as it can at this point. I put it outside and then got to thinking, no, that would only burn it. Let's leave it here where it was until it gets a chance to sink its roots in, and then put it outside. I also have a bag of stuff for a sign that I made this week. Oh, some herb books that I bought that I haven't found a spot for yet. Oh, I think I showed you this pencil cactus. It is still holding its own. This is a little sticky trap you get for gnats. I've been besieged the last few weeks with gnats in the house. They're not coming from my plants. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're finally starting to go away. Thank God for that. And last but not least, look who is in her bed. There's Miss Mimi. Yeah, hi, Miss Mimi. Miss Mimi and I had a grooming session. She had a little bit of a fur mat that we had to get rid of. She does not like removing fur mats. But again, showing my age, Miss Mimi is alive. I remember, I think I was 10 or 11 at the time when, of course, he was known as Mao Zedong back then. I was corrected when I looked it up for the date. Apparently now his name has changed, but he was Mao Zedong when I knew him, of him. But he used to swim in the Yangtze to prove he was alive. And as Miss Mimi does not like to swim, I figured I'd just show you a picture of her in her bed. So without further ado, let's go on our walk. It's a perfect day for videoing because no sun. I don't have to worry about angles. It's been very dusty, as you can see by the dust all over here. So I have a new lawn man now, or yard man, and he came for the first time, and he did a pretty good job. Except, you know, he's got to figure out the lay of the land, so gouged a little bit where the other man had made the Kevin's been with me now for over 20 years, and he hopefully will come back again. But for now, I have someone that does the mowing. Kevin may come back and help me with the things other than mowing, because Kevin was also good with gardening. But still didn't pick that okra from last week. It's still there. In the background, you may hear some noise. You may not pick it up. It depends on how good the the sound is on the camera. But there is a church service going on in the local park. So every now and then you hear singing and other things. But everything here looks pretty good. Again, all the grass is looking good. It had been about 3 weeks since the grass was cut. Bananas are doing well, still turning yellow. Of course, I haven't fertilized them yet. The main reason being last week, my excuse was, amongst other things, it didn't rain, so you really want to fertilize when it's going to rain. I did replant that one dead gardenia. Here all is well. I did lie, or tell a lie. I did wind up cutting back the cassia one more time because it just got a little too long and floppy. Hopefully it'll have a chance to bloom this year. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but right over there is Anna the banana spider. She's come back again, or a different one has come back. This is the time of the year that they come back. Here in the South, you have to be, they don't bite, but they like to make their nests, or their webs, and they're big webs and a big spider. And they like to do it where there's light at night, and there's a street light out there. But I went to visit my friend Rob, and there's a big web in front of his front door that I didn't see, and walked right into it. The main thing I was after is, I know the spider doesn't bite, but I didn't want the spider on me. So he heard some cursing outside and was wondering what was going on. But it turned out the spider had gotten out of the way and was up on the roof already. Back in here, all is well. I didn't really do any trimming or edging. Really, I didn't do any gardening work last week at all, due to unforeseen circumstances. Mexican petunia is still doing well. I like them when they get that height. I would prefer them to be blue, but alas, they're not. And this fig has really grown. It's probably 10 feet tall now. We'll see what lives through the winter. It's going to leave an odd-looking trunk down here, because here you can see what I had cut off last year that the frost had killed. What I'll do is I'll wait till next spring and then clean it up, because chances are I'm not going to prune any more on this. I'm just going to leave it as it is, because more than likely it will not survive as is. Some portion of it will die, and I figure let it stay as it is, and then I'll figure it out in the spring. Although I have seen the weather forecasts, and at least for us in the southeastern part of the U.S., we're forecasted to have a fairly mild winter this year. There's a weather pattern that they predict is developing that's going to split the country in two, right down the center of the from California to from the east coast to the west coast. It's going to, well, it's splitting down the center, running from the east to the west coast. That's the best way to say it. And everything above that, which is the north, east and west, both sides of the north are going to see colder than normal, and lower from that are going to see pretty much hotter than normal drought conditions. So basically, we're going to be hot and dry this winter is their prediction. And of course, the boundary line that runs through the center of the country is where the tornadoes are going to be, the stormy weather where the cold fronts and the hot fronts meet. There's a bumblebee working over the wandering dudes. There's another one back in there. It's hard to pick up the activity of these bees. They go around. There's another one down there. We're going from blossom to blossom. The Australian tree fern is doing well. I need to water in the front here. Here is one of the things that the new gardener has improved. I was debating, I never really told him what to cut. And he weed whacked out my oregano. However, he didn't dig it down to the roots, so it will come back. You can already see growth coming. So I told him afterwards, don't do that. It's not the end of the world. It'll come back. Mandevilla is still doing fine over here. It looks like the mock orange is coming up in this pot, but it's not. I'm letting it grow because I want to put those two clumps together and get another mock orange and put it over here where there's one coming up. Years ago, Sarah's my next door neighbor here, we had a hedge of mock orange, and they all died out, but the seeds are very long-lived because that sprouted. I did not plant that. In retrospect, I'm thankful that the new gardener didn't get the lavender, but he did know pretty much what was the weed and what not. It's just sometimes I have weeds as flowers, as plants. Datura, ooh, that's a nice scent today. Wish you could smell it. It's very sweet. It has a little sour after smell to it, kind of like a sour apple. And here was the other little mishap was I like to trim the ivy vertically and cut it right at the edge of the sidewalk. And kind of instead what he did was he did it horizontally and got it away. But again, ivy will grow back. He also got some of my trout lily, but not trout lily, toad lily. But the good thing about that is they do recover, and if they don't bloom, they'll have more energy put into the roots, so next year it will be nicer. But again, it wasn't a big deal. I don't see a lot of growth on that Pieris japonica. It doesn't look like it's going to bloom this year. This is the Pieris japonica that has potential blooms on it. Oh, I have to switch hands here while I close and lock this gate. I've got my fountains going. I went ahead and trained this yellow jasmine up. I just put a couple of thumbtacks there, and it has reached the upper piece of wood up there. Now I just have to train it to circle round on that wood. I now have 2+ hummingbirds, so apparently the migration is in full swing. It is quiet back here. The other thing that happened this last week was Dee Dee was supposed to go and get neutered on Wednesday, and I got her 3/4 of the way into the box, the cat carrier, and she remembered the cat carrier from the prior week or prior couple of weeks where she had gotten her shots, and she was not having anything to do with that. So she had all 4 paws on the doors of the cat carrier and got away from me. And I told the vet, and what the vet said to do was just what people have done, she said, was they put the cat carrier near the cat food and just leave it there, and they'll get used to it. And I did that on Wednesday, and Thursday everything was fine. Friday everything was fine. Saturday all the cats disappeared. So they have up and left the backyard, all but for Peanut. Peanut comes around to eat, so I've stopped feeding them, needless to say. I used to keep, oh, there's Peanut on the other side of the tree. You can see him hiding under the aspidistra over there. Hi, Peanut. I'll know now with Peanut when I catch him, put him in the cat carrier and get everything done at once. None of this going back multiple times. But live and learn. And the cats are free to come and go, so they were feral cats, and they are feral cats still. The other thing that I did this week, the deck still looks good. I replanted the sedum that the animal had dug out. That was growing in the gardens where I have my little water fountain. Let's go inside here. It's a little messy because I haven't started putting stuff away in here yet. I ironed, so that shirt needs ironing. Haven't put the washer and dryer back yet. It was left out like that to make sure the lines behind didn't leak. And then I decided, well, while it's out, I really ought to paint the closet that it slides into. And just haven't gotten around to it yet, so I will. No big rush. It's just me, and I can easily do laundry this way, but that's what I'll be doing over the winter. More retail therapy. I bought some new cushions for outside to go with the new turquoise color. I have one for the rocker on the little deck here, and I also got for the 2 chairs over there. They were out for the last 3 or 4 days, but last night it started peppering rain, so I was running around bringing them in. And the other thing I did this last week, more as a whim than anything else, was I made a sign. I can't pick it up and show you at the same time, so I'll just put the camera on its side. La Garconniere. I'm planning on hanging it. Find a spot for it here. Up here where the wind chimes are. That was what that bag was in the kitchen. It turns out that's a PVC piece, a plank of wood. Well, it's not really wood, it's PVC, shaped to look like wood. And I was going to just hang it up here from this 2x4, but it turns out that PVC is not very strong. So I was going to just put eye hooks in it and chain it to the top. Well, you can't really do that with PVC because the screws wouldn't hold in it. This is PVC, by the way. I had a spare piece. And in any event, I'm going to hang it from up there. And I figured out how to do it. I just have to drill holes in it and S-hooks. And next week, you'll see. Just didn't get to it this week. Back in here, all is looking good. It doesn't look too good for this particular. It was just planted there, the boxwood. And it is starting to die. I don't know whether that was from the kittens jumping against it or boxwood blight. But if it dies, I may very well lose the boxwoods. I'm tired of fighting boxwood blight. And I can put something else there. I used to have 7 of them, and I cut it down to 4. Of course, I could just leave 3 over here and put something else in its place, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. These bananas, you can see I'm following the advice I gave a couple of weeks ago. I'm letting the yellow leaves turn brown. They're about ready to be cut off. Now you can get a good look of at the top of the Canary Island date palm, since there's no sun back there. But it has leafed out nicely. It would be nice to get a winter where we don't get any 20-degree weather, because it will do fine freezing, at 32, but when it gets down into the 20s is when you start losing the tops. And if we ever got a 2-year growth, that would look really huge up there. It has been like that in the past, but the last couple of years it's been cooler than usual. This Pieris japonica is also getting some flower heads. Back in here, all is looking well. I did not see Gatto last week, but the water in his dish keeps disappearing. The kittens left him be. Well, they weren't kittens, the cats left him be, or it didn't bother him any. It did bother him a little bit, though, because Peanut tried to get his tomato the last time I gave him some tomato, and he was not having that. Gatto, that is. So he was trying to yank that tomato away from Peanut. And I don't know why Peanut wanted a tomato. He just saw someone else eating something that he didn't have a part of. Here you can see the yellow angel's trumpet is making it above the Nandinus. That used to get 7 or 8 feet tall, but then that particular plant died totally. And then last year it didn't get, the new sprout that I put in there didn't get taller than that. This year, hopefully this one will get taller, but they have been dying out in that spot every year. I don't know, well, it's because it's too shady. Once when it gets cold, the cold stays. It used to be taller before the palm got big. And while looking up there, it looks like I have another stalk of fruit. 2 stalks of fruit. I didn't notice the other one before. Let me position myself so you can see. There's some more fruit there. And another stalk up there. It was very prolific this year. So they will turn orange and make a mess. But you can make jelly out of it. That's why it's also nicknamed the jelly palm. If there's nothing else around to eat, you might want to eat that. Back in here, everything is looking lush. I didn't get to doing anything on top of the fence. It'll happen. Oh, just went through a spider web of some kind. These cycads have sent out a whole new round of leaves. Hopefully they'll cure before a hard frost, because they need to really harden off and get dark green like that so they'll survive. As they are, a hard frost would kill them, just dusting them with the frost. Back in here, all is looking good. The frangipani has another name that I can't think of right now, but it is doing really well. It likes its life under that palm, so I think I will be leaving it there. Let's see. Uh-oh. There you can see a purple flower of that darned weed that I have to get before it goes to seed. If you ever let it go to seed, you're going to be fighting it forever. Plumeria, that's the other name for that. Plumeria. And here is another flower stalk coming on this pindo palm. This one hasn't formed any fruit. This is the maximum number of fruit it has formed, but you can see what the flower stalk looks like. By the way, that other palm, the sable minor in the front yard that had the little fungus attack, what I did do to it, rather than spray it, is I cut off all the damaged, it was mostly on the flower stalk, so I cut off the flower stalk and I took off a couple of leaves, the ones that were mostly coated in the fungus, and that seems to have kept it at bay, so I just got rid of the infected leaves. I can still spray, would be my next approach. I don't like to spray palms if I can get away with it, but I do have sprays to use. I used to use Volk oil and it was perfect for palm trees, but they don't sell it anymore. So now I have to use another type. You can see the kumquats are coming. They'll be here in time for Thanksgiving. But yeah, that's about it. But I do feel better just getting out in the yard. I knew I would. The garden always refreshes me and gives me a new mental attitude on things. Always cheers me up. Here, the cardboard palm is still looking good. This should be blooming pretty soon. The golden chalice vine. Unfortunately, something ate a lot of the leaves, and it's not going to get new leaves until next year. So you'll just have to look at that. These caladiums look pitiful, but I'm not going to replant anything there until the cyclamen are in stock, and they should be any week now at Lowe's, so I'm going to keep an eye out for cyclamen. These cuttings have done really well here. It took a while with the kittens jumping all over it, but it has done well. And these are the native amaryllis, species amaryllis. They're getting nice and green. I'm going to move this, the bromeliad, because the one I brought in was yellowish and pitiful, kind of like that, and putting it in the front porch, it's gotten gray and powdery like it's supposed to. So I'm going to split these two and try bringing them inside and see if they'll improve. Of course, I still have my ginger lily, the queen ginger lily. Hopefully this will bloom again this year, the nun's orchid. And what else? What else? The angel's trumpet here has gotten above the roof. And there you can see how messy the crepe myrtle is with the white. It looks like snow almost falling all over everything. Oh, the other thing I did this week, of course, is now that the kitten, I did it yesterday. Since the kittens are older, I took the metal cylinders off of my papyrus, so they look like plants again. And my Sarracenias are doing well. And this Sarracenia has leafed out nicely. I think it likes the extra shade of being, smothered kind of by that caladium. But since that has happened, it has really picked up. And they're not huge, but it's full. That I bought last year. The one in the little turquoise pot, which I didn't show you, it's on the other side of this hedge, I bought this year. Or actually, I got this year. But there you have it. It's been a hell of a week. Don't want to have to relive this again. But that is one of the things of growing older. Growing older is not for wimps. I don't know who actually said that, but it is what it is. Just being thankful to be here and out in my yard, out in the garden. And I have a neighbor I see whenever I see Steve up the street. He always says, well, I see we're upright today. So there's always something to be thankful for. So until next week, I hope you all get to get out in your yards and enjoy them. This was a really good pick-me-up for me today. And until next week, take care. Bye-bye for now.